Stop. Oh, stop. Stop. Thank you. Stop. Thank you. Stop. Stop. I appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it. Hey, can you guys hear this? Is that good? Can you hear that? Please clap. Welcome to class. My name is Dr. Elliot Morgan. Welcome to class. Please open your books. The page based. That might be the first time I've ever used that word. Can you hear it? You heard clap, drum roll? Heck yeah. Thank you, Jesse. What about this one? I've been working on this all weekend.
What are you talking about? It's so painful. It's so painful to listen to this idiocy.
Is that good? Can you hear that? Clap, clap. Thank you. Clap. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever. I don't know how it works either. Okay. Would anybody like to start the day off with a meat stick? Painful idiocy confirmed. Maybe a little low, but not by much. Love that. Thank you so much, Jesse. And we'll be attempting to bump that up at the... Oh, let's try it again.
What are you talking about? It's so painful. It's so painful to listen to this idiocy.
Okay. I always like to start the day with a little bit of meat. It looks like the YouTube chats are showing up. They weren't last time, so that's pretty cool. Pretty cool for me. There were thousands of messages I missed, one of which was about Skinwalker Ranch. I'm not saying we're going to get into Skinwalker Ranch today because we got bigger fish to fry, but plenty to talk about with Skinwalker Ranch. I'll tell you that. So progress, great. Maybe I should probably turn all the, like, is it? That no one needs that one that loud.
What are you?
All right. He's having fun, and that's what matters. All right. Don't like that voice. Okay, so how's everybody doing? Did everyone have a nice weekend? Anything interesting happen? What other buttons do I have on here? Oh, I don't know. Let me see. You guys want to hear what it sounds like when I do stand up? You get it? How about this? Go on. Oh, go on. You like chickens? Oh, is that a chicken? That's more of a turkey gobble. This is the chicken. And then, of course, I mean, this is just a, you know, obviously like a stock one that I got, but I love it. What is this one? Oh, nice. That's fun. The standard Wookiee. Yeah. I would have killed been killed in the Riyadh Comedy Festival. Can you believe these comedians? How's Bill Burr doing? Has anybody checked on him recently? I heard he was not doing great after that whole thing. But I haven't been keeping up because I don't care that much. All right, so would you guys like to begin with our meditation? Is everybody, I feel it, or our centering, our zoning in, if you will, our clearing out a little bit of what's going on in our minds so that we can better appreciate all of the things that are going on in the world, but do so in a healthy and constructive, generative manner rather than one that is rooted solely in emotions. This is a stream that's all about facts over feelings. Because if there's one thing we know, it's that feelings are bad and facts are good. So in order to understand that, you have to completely empty yourself of all affect. And that's what we're going to do. If you guys haven't been here before, I like to start these with some videos. Or a video that is maybe a little old, but still available on YouTube. I think I don't know, I think Trump, I like that a lot. I like that a lot, that's really good. Okay, so, let's go ahead and dive in. I think you guys will enjoy this. Also, I assume you'll be able to hear it. But once again, let me know. I will have sound effects for Steve. Honestly, I can probably see myself losing a lot of time, and already have, with these things. And one inspiration for that is a gentleman by the name of Tyler Oakley. And it is not the Nickelodeon video, though that will be making an appearance in various capacities quite a bit. One day it will be the Nickelodeon video, but can't do it on the third one or second. I don't even know, maybe, I don't know, 50th? When I get to 50th, we'll do the Nickelodeon commercial. But it's always available for you if you want to see it. This one, however, has a similar vein, similar place in my heart as well. So yeah, let's dive into it. Now I just have to go back to the okay. All right, folks, let's buckle in.
Brad, we're taking the picture now.
What picture?
Now, the one for Mom. Hello? Now.
I'm right here, Tucker.
Hey.
Stop screaming.
All right, so I set it up, and
It's a t-shirt.
put on a tie. It's
This
for
is
Mom.
fine.
It's for Mother's Day.
Whatever.
Put on a tie.
Fine.
I'm back. Okay. All right. Okay, are you in close enough? Because you have to be... Okay, come
Great
come in
piano
closer.
to hit.
You're not in the frame.
You're not in the frame.
I swear to God, you're like halfway out of the picture right now.
F, Tucker. Why do you want me so close to you
Tucker.
anyways?
I want you in the picture so Mom can see you. In the picture.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Tucker wants me humping his shoulder.
Right, I'm setting it for 3 seconds.
Oh, I can just look over.
Now. Okay, we're taking it again. Try to smile this time, okay?
I smiled last time.
No, I just looked at it. You look like a frickin' gopher or something.
A gopher?
If you're not familiar, before we finish, this is a comedy duo by the name of Barats and Beretta. So that is Luke Barats on the left, who is absolutely hilarious, one of the funniest people I've ever met, an incredibly brilliant person in his own right, quick-witted, his brain works unlike anything I have seen in my life, and he's an absolute comedic powerhouse. And Joe Beretta's in this too.
Okay, you ready? Here it comes.
Joe Beretta is in this too.
What? I set it for 10 seconds. I wanted to make sure you were smiling. So.
I mean, it really can't be overstated what a nice person Joe Beretta is. And Luke Barats, again, one of the funniest human beings on the planet, consistently hilarious and never, ever fails to make one of the funniest jokes ever. And Joe Beretta is just genuinely a good...
Come out of the bathroom!
Put down the yardstick!
I'm taking the picture myself! Please come out of the bathroom.
One smile. If I smile for you this time, you don't bug me the rest of the day.
Oh, as if I'd want to?
Good.
Yeah, good.
Hey, hold up.
What?
Brad, I'm telling Mom! Don't go in the bathroom!
Beautiful, right? Big fan. Hey, where did you meet me? I am. The Elliot Morgan is streaming. Dr. Elliot Morgan. I'm not trying to whatever. Yeah, the trio should be on the podcast this week. I think we're recording it later today. And Timothy, where'd you meet me? If that is your real name. See how quickly I'm reading now? And I don't think missing you should be getting the trio on the podcast, and it'll be the same high quality, riveting podcast you always get. The website just goes to their YouTube. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, this is like a legendary comedy group, and I mean a legendary comedian, and then Joe Bird is there as well. But really, just legacy YouTubers, and I owe a lot to them. I owe a lot to especially Luke Baratz, and I think Joe's great. So, is that fun? Do we have fun there? Was that great?
What are you talking about?
Okay, that's too long. How we doing? Everybody good? Columbus, Ohio. Well, that was recently, right? That was pretty. Joe is there. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed the Columbus, Ohio show. I'm assuming you were there. I think we are all done with that for now, but there might be a couple more shows. Apologies for how the chat's cutting off in the screen. I don't know how this stuff totally works yet. We're figuring it out, but boy, let me tell you, you're going to be a treat. Oh yeah, you did yell at me, Twilight Edward over Jacob. So we were going to, thank you. I will get there. We were going to film the last like Twilight reaction video last night. And we're going to do it Wednesday instead, but it's going to be a real treat, and I don't mind spoiling a little bit that there will be, I believe Grace has talked about this, there will be costumes. And I'm pretty excited about mine because I don't want to give any spoiler alerts for what my costume is. But if you know what Twilight is about, you could probably guess. And I tried my costume on, and I was like, whoa, I actually am kind of like feeling myself in this. And that was a strange thing for me. That was a strange feeling, just in general. And so I had to kind of like back away and go, okay, I need to collect my thoughts. And there was just a lot going on. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of the I'm going for, I know it, Renesmee, yeah. Is that how you say it, Renesmee? I did have to maybe Google a summary of the previous films because man, I have a hard time paying attention to those films. And it's like I don't know if I've even watched any of them so much as they've been on while I've been just like looking at the the TV. Just like it is happening. Like I don't know of any other film or film franchise where I'm like really trying to pay attention, and it's like it moves directly through me. Like when it's over, I have no idea what happened. Also in the last one, I think I just got so bored I started saying nonsense things and like ended up completely cutting off a twist, and I'm still not sure what the twist is, except that like it was like she turns into a vampire, which I'm pretty sure is a given. Anyway. Yeah, the light entered. Yeah, exactly. So we're talking film here on this podcast. I am nothing if not a film buff, and so that's what I'm into. Except for one other thing, folks, and that is this. So this is not something I think we should be taking lightly. Okay, this is a new media post. What did you know? What did you know about it? You guessed this? What do you think about this possibly I would find of interest? Now, before we dive into this, I want to respond to something that somebody said last time, which is about the I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty except a little bit, but they mentioned Skinwalker Ranch. Skinwalker Ranch is two different conversations. One is the phenomenon itself, and the other is the fact that it was bought by like a billionaire and it's populated by like a production company that they turn into a television show that they can sell to Discovery, which I think is that. But in terms of the validity of the phenomenon, I do believe that there is something with the phenomenon, that there is a there. But this gets into the differences between ontology, epistemology, methodology, all the ologies, okay? Maybe even some psychology. And so I have a lot of skepticism toward people, if it isn't clear yet, who pretend to know what's going on, some of whom we're going to see in real soon. But let's look at this first. But point being, I'm not trying to poo-poo the idea that there is something behind the phenomenon. I poo-poo this. You know what I mean? Yeah, so how come they didn't give him clothes? Well, that's a great question, Jesse. I think it's part of like a humiliation ritual. Let's see if we can get a little closer here. So now, I don't know how many of you have seen this so far. I'm a big fan of the fingers in front of the lens. Like, it really gives that kind of haphazard, took the phone out of my pocket, really shouldn't be taking this photo. There's also, there's a few things that we can get into with this that maybe don't make a ton of sense. I think that there's one thing I haven't heard people note yet is the fact that Donald Trump looks like the top half of him is standing. You know, like the legs aren't the arms typically move, right, like opposite to the legs. As I think we have developed as human beings, as a species, we've, when we started to walk upright, we figured out there was a little bit of like a balance that we had to do. But not Donald Trump. He is, honestly, he's incredible because he, I guess, walks with his arms down. It is Reservoir like that. He walks with his arms down the whole time, which is, I think, hard to do. So, welcome to the first stream. I heart waffles. I heart waffles. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being to Dr. Elliot Morgan's stream. As you can tell, we're diving into some pretty heavy stuff. Don't be intimidated, just because it's a little complex. Now, obviously, this alien is shackled, but the shackle seems to be reaching around his right hip. I don't know if they call them that, but it does not seem to be connected to the other handcuff. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't see anything there. And big fan of the kicks. And the sort of like, it reminds me of the shoes. I mean, that might be a high heel, but it reminds me of the shoes that Batman wore in the 1989 film, which I think were like Jordans or something. But anyway, this is an alien that is very sexy, and it is shackled, and they are walking. Behind them is a Hummer that does seem to have maybe had part of it vaporized, or sort of, I don't know, it sort of seems to have been erased from this dimension, like in Back to the Future. But you see what I'm talking about, that there's the Hummer here. So I don't know. I'm starting to think this might be fake. And that's okay, though. And I think in a second we're going to look at maybe what some of the reactions have been to this, because you have to. And I will say that when we talked last time with about Jeffrey Kripal's idea that much of the alien government stuff is a Cold War kind of hangover, this is a really great example. Because what does this imply? It implies that this alien is a threat, and that threat has been subdued, and that threat has been subdued by President Donald J. Trump. and he posted this from his bed. And I imagine, as he was sitting there, Marco Rubio came in, was changing out his bedpan, and was, like, well, what are you working on, Mr. President? And he said, get out! And then he posted this. That's how I imagine it went anyway. And then the guy who does the ballroom construction came in to read him his bedtime story about how the ballroom is going. So that's my conspiracy theory. And I'm just happy to see that he's having fun with AI, and I love the idea that he saw this and thought people should see this. The one Secret Service dude is walking directly toward the guy with the camera. So it's amazing that this got leaked. And yeah, I mean, it's funny enough, I guess, but it does hit that same Cold War kind of paranoia. Because we're still in that, apparently, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I am currently reading a book of essays called Cold War Liberalism, so I'm slightly interested in the subject. This is opens with a guy named Daniel Bessner, who is a historian, and there's a bunch of different ideas on how 20th century stuff worked and how it still informs a lot of where we're at now. But we don't need to get into that because, let's see, I can go, ooh, wait a minute.
What are you talking about?
All right, so we can. That is not going to get old for me for a second. If it gets old for you, please tell me. I am not here to annoy, despite maybe what you may have heard. All right, so I'm going to start with, let's see how everyone's doing. Soldier behind them. Yep, a little hovering guy. Yeah, some of them are hovering. The environment is all over the place with the guy. Yep, and Trump's defense, he thought the alien was a dog. And they're all unfazed. Yeah. Yeah, it does look like a centaur's hoof. That's a good call, Jesse. Also, the Dutch angle of the entire environment versus the people walking straight. Yeah, so sometimes with AI, it messes up, especially with images, and it's very fun when it does. It's also kind of sad when people, I think, take AI maybe a little bit more seriously than they should. So on that note, I was like, well, I gotta just Google and find like what some of these conspiracy theory channels are saying about this. Sure enough, they may or may not have read it. I have not watched this entire thing, but I watched enough to be like, all right, yeah, this is gonna be very fun.
We have Trump dropping several different images said to be AI generated images on his Truth Social account. One showing him hitting a red button. This is similar to the whole Lego animation put out by Iran, where they hit a red button and then a bomb drops over America. Well, Trump's doing the same, and in different clips, people are saying that one of them, it looks like it's Britain.
Okay, so if you there's a lot going on here, but the idea of people taking this photo seriously and trying to analyze each and every part of it, when we all know that the more detailed you get with AI, the more likely you are to see something that did not make the cut. But like, it is still funny that he put out a photo where he's bombing Britain. Funny, I'm using that term incredibly loosely, but like, the foresight is just amazing. But yeah, let's listen to this guy. I don't know why he talks like that. I'm not excuse me. I'm not here to I'm not here to make fun of this guy too much, at least in that regard, but he's about to open, I think, a Pandora's box where it's going to be free game. Sorry. I like to start the streams and then immediately choke for half an hour, but I also get emotional because this is a big moment for humanity.
That a bomb blows up over top of them. What that's supposed to mean, it could be random in the generated AI
Could be
background, because when you go to generate stuff like this, it can produce kind of anything. It's not sure if he was targeting or had something directed at the UK out of this, or just put the image out there with the bombs dropping, period. It also looks like Almost looks like the Eiffel Tower type
It like I just have a hard time. You know what I mean?
design right there. Some could say Space Force, all of that tied
It does sound like content Steve Zaragoza would make. Yes. When he goes into like his zone.
into this. It's a shot from space, and tied into it,
Point around. Show me
another
that pointer.
post.
Oh,
It's got to be one of the oddest ones yet from him.
yeah.
Well, he did post himself as being Jesus, let's not forget, and then lied about it and tried to say he was a doctor. But here he is walking with an alien that seems to be cuffed or shackled.
Cucked.
And they're on a base walking in broad daylight with troops and Secret Service around them. There was no context to this. He didn't put any information. Many are speculating that it has to do with disclosure. And to me, it's not too cool to be putting.
Okay, so when I first saw this image, I was like, this is interesting because the one thing that maybe people who are super into UFOs don't love is when you make fun of them. And for good reason. I think there's a stigma around it that is regrettable. But at the same time, but I don't know that there's a story, I believe, regarding the Phoenix Lights that happened in the 90s, I believe. Maybe it was the early aughts, but like the Phoenix Lights were this big kind of mass event of seeing a UAP. And it freaked so many people out that the town had to do like a kind of like meeting about it. And rather than say what it was or assuage any kind of fears, they had a guy walk out wearing a big alien mask. And it caused a massive, massive backlash. So I feel like this is a little similar, but I don't know how people could be super like not offended just based on the fact that this is the dream of disclosure, right? Is that like the president comes out and is like, we have the things and we've had the things and I'm telling you about it. And that president, would get to be the president that did the disclosure. And there's also been people that I'm blanking on the guy's name, Bassett, I want to say, who's, constantly making these predictions that Trump wants to be the disclosure president. And he's the most transparent and blah, blah, blah. So this seems to kind of undermine that, but also we should be honest that this is just a guy on his phone entertaining himself, and it just so happens that it might offend some people. So I like when the people that generally are like for whatever it is, so long as it's for disclosure, they're for whatever political party. That's a big thing with the UFO stuff. They don't care about bipartisan things. They only care about like this one particular issue, and so they're not afraid to like push back and be like, if you stop being for them, you will be against them. I lost the chat over here. Here we go.
Stuff out there on such a serious topic. It's like, come on out and say something about it. But no, he's just dropping these ominous little images made by AI. And some are going to jump and say, oh, is it really AI or is that an entity next to him? I don't think that's the case.
Not.
If they're going to do that, he's going to do it officially, I would think. And
you would think
preparing for that. It seems like that's in the cards. This whole disclosure thing can officially go down for the record books without a statement from Donald J. Trump. So we have a movie about to drop. We have the whole
Why does it keep doing it? Okay.
disclosure documentary that just recently dropped, and they're dropping information now every other week or so. They're saying until this big announcement from Trump, what Burchett calls the "oh crap" moment.
He said Burchett or something. He means Burchett, who is maybe one of the dumbest people in Congress, big UFO guy. Not saying those things are connected. You can be incredibly intelligent. You can even have some academic knowledge and be super into UFOs. There's nothing wrong with that. But he's not exactly like a Rhodes Scholar, I guess. But where are we gonna? Yeah, there can't be. So there can't be people out there who believe this isn't real and not AI. On that note, I have been trying to pull up while we've been watching this a post from one of the kind of like ancillary members of the uh intellectual dark web. Do you guys remember the intellectual dark web? And I was flabbergasted by this tweet of his. And I don't know if okay. All right, let me see if I can pull this up here. But let's keep watching this for a second. Are we having fun? Is this fun so far? Okay, great. Let me know.
Which is going to have to be
I'm new.
showing an entity, a life form, to the masses, one of these fallen. And the great deception will then be among us. So, this is the latest. You can see some of these images over on Truth Social. If you're following Trump there, join me as I cover this in greater detail. Going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Underground World News Live. Much love, y'all.
I like this guy. He sold me at the end. Okay, so let's. Oh, spoiler alert. Wait, which one do I want? No. Here we go. Okay, let's see how she's. So if you were here last time, we were exploring the mind and thoughts of Lily Nova, a Starseed. This is. I thought we could just scrub through this real quick, and it says disclosure, cosmic initiations, and self mastery. And I'm pretty excited to see she is talking to another Starseed. So let's look at it. We're looking at 10,000 views on this, and I want to go to manifestation. That's always fun. Discernment, okay, we'll try this one.
One race. I've had contact with many different types of beings too.
Nailed it.
So what do you think are the beings that you see? So sometimes you'll see a Lyran ship or a Turian ship. Why do you think that is? You have contact with these this different variety.
If you're not familiar with the Starseed is, they believe they are have the soul of an alien in a human body.
Well,
oh, wait, I gotta show you the thing. Hang on. I'm still getting used to this, guys. Apologies, but it's worth it because someone asked. Okay, yeah. So check this out. This is Eric Weinstein. Now, this is his response to Donald Trump's alien post. It is entirely unclear what is actually happening. No, it isn't. The idea that something is actually happening here is itself quaint. Interesting word choice. Maybe it's real, maybe a head fake, maybe it's awesome AF, maybe it's dorky dad humor, maybe it's a clever way to prepare the world, etc. Ad infinitum. No, it is not ad infinitum, Eric Weinstein. It's not. It's not unclear what's happening. It's an AI photo, Eric. Eric, by the way, is ostensibly a brilliant person, a physicist, whose ideas have just been considered so radical that the entire academic establishment has ostracized him due to his heterodox ways of viewing physics. Is that because he is a pioneer and a trailblazer? And is it because academia has become so captured by the current economic mutation that we're living in right now? Or because they've become brainwashed by the sort of cultural Marxism conspiracy in the Frankfurt School, and they are therefore unable to recognize his genius? I like to think so. But yeah, no, I mean, he's one of these guys that I liked him for a while. Like, I went through a phase, but I don't I don't anymore. I mean, I have nothing against him personally. I don't care. So anyway, are we good? How's everyone? We're having fun? Sorry, I'm getting caught up. It's very funny. Yeah. So there are people out there who see it anyway as real.
So yeah, that's a good question. I know I've had lifetimes in the Pleiades. I know I've had lifetimes in Arcturus. I know that a large portion of my soul is actually avatar here from a Therian lion being who's actually on a craft right now that aimed
All right. I mean, we hit gold, baby.
down that's kind of in stasis, and that's like that that's a main part of my consciousness right now. And so when it first started, I was like, okay, so I'm Syrian, or okay, so I'm Pleiadian, and then wait, I have this Arcturian connection too. And it's like, so you're not just a star seed from one place. It's like, is in the higher realms there is no time, right? I've been this being, I've been that being, and it's all happening at once. Only down here time is linear, but in the higher realm, it's 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 circular. It's actually spiral, and so like any cross section.
Okay. The time thing is an interesting statement because there is like if you go into like the history of like a lot of the ideas around Atlantis, for example, there is often a kind of through line, and this is I haven't looked too much into this, but I know there's a debate between like Flint Dibble and Graham Norton, and I love Flint Dibble, and also just love his name. But he talks about, there's plenty of research on how there's a kind of white supremacist eugenics thing going on with the kind of Atlantis myth, like there was a race that was pure and all that stuff. I don't know the exact connections. It came around the same time as like the rise of Nazi Germany and all that stuff, and it started gaining popularity during that time. That's my understanding. There's at least threads of that. And this is an interesting thing because when he's talking about time for us, like being linear, there is truth to that because, like, generally speaking, we, especially in the West, have one particular understanding of time. And that is it's a way of understanding time that's very similar to how we relate to space, where we kind of divvy it up into things and it's a very horizontal kind of thing. There's seconds and minutes. And then we also, we take land around, we go, okay, this is our land, we're going to divide it. It's very quantitative. And then there's other understandings of time that are non-Western kind of ways of understanding that are more cyclical, are more based in like the qualitative rather than the quantitative. But he's just taking that understanding from like a lot of non-Western or indigenous cosmologies and mapping it onto the cosmos, and then essentially, taking it as himself. So it's kind of I'm not accusing the guy of anything. I don't know that he's doing any of this consciously, but there is a little bit of like, they like really want there's a jealousy kind of deal of like the other, and so it becomes projected upon the aliens. If that makes any sense. Thank you. A Pleiadian starseed is a soul who originates from the Pleiades, a star cluster in the Taurus constellation. Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, it helps to know that. It is the specificity, I think, that I have a real issue with. Because, like, when they're like, all right, there's reptilians and there's grays and there's this and there's that. It just is in the same vein as how we think about everything. Like, it's just taking something and then being like, well, this is what it is. And you look at this and they're all working together and it's an intergalactic federation. No, I don't believe that's the case, but I love the building of the mythology. I love like fleshing it out and being like, this is it's like it is like building a religion or a cult, but whatever. It's fascinating to watch. And hey, maybe you ever think like maybe they're right, like maybe we're wrong, and maybe Lily Nova and Solar Lion Seth have had it figured out this entire time, and maybe we should be listening to them instead of judging them all the time. Do you ever think about that?
That can be accessed at any point, and it's
What are you talking about?
time can be manipulated. You can go backward forward in time. And so we actually do have all these connections, and it's not just one race that we're connected to. You know,
What are the odds?
Yeah, beautiful. And they can see that in your
Beautiful.
field, you know, these different beings like, oh, you've been, if you're interacting with other beings, Sasquatch is coming to mind. I've had interactions with Sasquatch. And it's like they can, the Sasquatch can tell when I've had contact with other Sasquatch. They can.
We're backing that up.
forward in time. And so we actually do have all these connections, and it's not just one race that we're connected to. You know,
Yeah, beautiful. And they can see that in your field, you know, these different beings like, oh, you've been, if you're interacting with other beings, Sasquatch is coming to mind. I've had interactions with Sasquatch. And it's like they can, the Sasquatch can tell when I've had contact with other Sasquatch. They can see it in my field. So then they feel more comfortable approaching me, the Sasquatch from different areas, from different cities, etc. They can see, like they can see more of you than you can see.
right? It's amazing how that information is accessible to them, right? I had this one experience where um,
I mean, again, it just seems like they're talking about the idea of intuition, but they can't handle the idea that there's like intuition that, they are ways of viewing that they can't. So it's Sasquatch that does it. The word is psychotic.
well, I've had a few Sasquatch experiences, but there was this one where I was behind this lake, and it seems like water around water that it seems to happen a lot. I was behind this lake, and I had my dogs at the time. I used to have two pit bulls, and they lived very long
Nice.
lives, and they were actually star beings, by the way, that incarnated to play the roles of my dog. But anyway, like Sasquatches and dogs aren't really the greatest mix, and so
Okay, let's write that down. Yeah, and that might be a sound drop, I think. Just because I think it's good to know, and I can't imagine a situation where that wouldn't be relevant. We're looking at 4107 roundabouts. Let's try that again.
it seems to happen a lot. I was behind this lake, and I had my dogs at the time. I used to have two pit bulls, and they lived very long lives, and
R.I.P.
they were actually star beings, by the way, that incarnated to play the roles of my dog. But anyway, like Sasquatches and dogs aren't really the greatest mix. And so I was meditating on this hill, and like this stream was coming out, and the sunshine. It was like a beautiful scene, and my dogs
It
are
was
just walking
peeing on it.
around, sniffing around, and all of a sudden I felt the presence of this being meditating, and it was like, open your eyes, and I did. And I saw this giant translucent outline of this like 10-foot tall being walking pretty close to me by these trees. And he was just like, "Hey, I wanted you to know I was here." He's like, "You're cool. You can come here, but don't tell anyone where this is. And respect that this is my place, and we're all good." And I was like, "Okay, no problem."
All
You
right,
know?
Beautiful. Yeah, that's incredible.
fun.
Yeah, they can see you. They can see you, and that's often how I see Sasquatch too. I'll open my eyes, and with my eyes open, I see them as like a more of a translucent uh,
Mm.
outline. So
Well, I mean, I've seen shadow people. They weren't in the shape of a Sasquatch, but there's plenty of stories like this. I mean, when you go into a meditative state, you can, or any kind of thing where your brain kind of shuts down your sensory input, then it's gonna fire off some things, incredibly specific.
that's how I can see them with my eyes open. So they're not fully materializing, but and you can activate. That's part of the activations that are happening right too. Right.
Yeah, Zero Out Meditations on Sasquatches and Dogs is my favorite indie folk rock album. Yeah, that was that like Fallout Boy? Was it like Fallout Boy song?
Now
Not quite.
as well.
Yeah, they can actually phase in and out, and that's why people are like, "Well, there's no bones or, you know, like, physical remains of them." It's because they're interdimensional beings, they can turn into an orb and travel through the forest and manifest into a being, they can go invisible if they want. They're literally interdimensional beings,
Yeah.
you know?
That's the nature of the game that we're the reality that we're
Without a
waking
doubt.
up to. It's quite incredible, and it takes some time, being able to wrap your head around it, but it's pretty
Mhm.
amazing. It's like magic. It looks like
Right.
magic to us.
The 20th century philosopher of consciousness, Gene Gebser, has this sort of schematic. Even though it's not really a schematic, but he has outlines different stages of consciousness. But he differed from a lot of philosophers of consciousness in the 20th century because he didn't have like a necessarily like teleological view on it, where it's like, oh, you're evolving out of every other stage of consciousness, and then you're reaching this enlightenment or whatever. It was sort of like they all exist together, but there were five of them, and it goes archaic, magic, mythical, mental, and then integral or emergent. And it's a fun idea, but when she's like, it's like magic, and then they're talking about all of these different planets and where these folks are coming from, then it's like getting magical, mythical. And when you're a child, like when you are a little baby, because the idea is that these exist both in the individual and then as like a culture as well or whatever. And so you have the archaic, which we can't really understand, but it'd be the equivalent of like a newborn baby who is not like conscious of where they end and the outside world begins. And then there's the magical, and the magical is when you have like uh you're hungry but you can't articulate it, you haven't figured out how to symbolize what's going on, and so then all of a sudden you're met with like a boob, and then all of a sudden you're good and happy, and there's you're being you're getting your nutrients. And so that's like the magic phase. The mythic phase comes when you start idolizing your folks and your parents, and you start mirroring usually. And when you mirror, that's how you start developing kind of your own ego and your own like separateness from the kind of like what would be called participation mystique back in the day. And so the idea is that all of these ways of thinking still have value. And as you get older, you get in the mental stage where all the myth stuff goes away. And then the kind of emergent idea is that it's all of those, but you kind of take what works and you leave behind what doesn't. So you leave behind, for example, the superstition of the mythic view, or the kind of whatever the stuff is that has proven to sort of been outgrown. But at times when we outgrow or get into a new stage, we will leave behind some of the good stuff. So like a lot of people who are very rational all the time, they have a very difficult time accessing any kind of like intuitive or non-rational ways of thinking. And so the idea is that you can that we're moving toward an era not by our own choice or own volition, but we're moving into an area where all of these things are combined. And this seems like not that.
Right? And I mean, it sounds so wild to someone who hasn't had the experiences that all these things exist. And like if we're remote viewing somewhere, we will appear as an orb to another being. That's
Mm,
something that I've learned. I've had
that's great.
beings come into my room as an orb and manifest into a full 7 foot tall light being directly in front of me that I'm seeing with my eyes. I've had that experience before. Um, and then so I had this other experience where I was walking back from my house. I used to have this large, like 30-acre lot behind my house. And I was walking back and it was like twilight and I saw this orange pink thing fly like a foot in front of me in my face, like
Twilight.
producing its own light source and like this like sparkly stuff coming off of it. And it had this feminine energy. And I was like, "What did I just see?" And then it did it again clearly, and it literally had wings. It was like a tiny human. I was like, "Okay, fairies are real." So, I had that experience.
Well, fairies are real. Um, Again, the amount of literature and documentation and stories, anecdotal, yes, of people who have experienced things is overwhelming. It's just the literalization of it that I take a bit of an issue with. Like, it doesn't mean just because you see a Sasquatch that there's a Sasquatch. Doesn't mean you didn't experience something weird. Anyway, Rat Tat Daddy, yeah, I'm interested in the synesthesia. Apologies. Yeah, where sensory input is linked. An example of this is the ability to see colors associated with, yeah. Isn't it like that, and like color sound can be colors or something? It sounds really cool. And those who have the ability to enter altered states of consciousness. Yeah, I mean, I tend to think that there is people have different setups in their mind, and sometimes it seems almost bordering on a little bit of I don't want to say schizophrenia. I don't know if that is. I don't do the, like, I'm talking in old school terms here, but like when the ego isn't well formed, you're susceptible to outside sources and like sensory stuff. I don't know if the theory holds water given how much religion still holds sway in post Enlightenment industrial society and how easily large groups of people tend to be seated by yes, absolutely, particularly charismatic figures, cult leaders, celebrities, etc. Yeah, this is definitely, the idea is not that we are in any kind of an emergent phase, but that the mental era is in its deficient phase. So there's efficient and deficient, and so the height of modernity is essentially behind us. And we are also dealing with the ramifications of the height of modernity, namely the Anthropocene. So take that for whatever you want.
It's back in 2013, and so if you tell somebody, yeah, fairies are real and UFOs and Sasquatch, they think it's just crazy. But why do you think these things were depicted in all the ancient cultures? Like the Fae. If you go back to like Celtic and Norse mythology, the Fae. The elementals, the forest spirits. Like it's a thing.
Yeah, parallelism in myth is a very hot button issue and continues to be to this day. The danger with what this gentleman, Solar Lion Seth, is talking about here is sometimes it flattens the actual cultures and what was going on in the material conditions from which those figures arose. At the same time, there are very similar similarities. Like one, for example, that is often used is the idea of a worldwide flood. If you go into many different ancient mythologies, there is a story of a worldwide flood. However, back in the day, before we have the world that we have now, we would often, many civilizations, most would live near water. And many of them didn't know all the time where other areas were. So flooding was a big problem back then. We hadn't figured out yet how to get away. We needed to be around the water. And so the idea that these different cultures all have stories about worldwide floods makes sense when you realize that back then a lot more folks proportionally lived near water. So there are like different reasons that you can look to this that aren't just like, well, then that means there must have been or like a comet could be seen and be taken as an angel, or like cargo cults are another one where you have this sort of idea of dropping off a bunch of cargo in a tribe and they think it's a gift from God and they start worshiping the planes or whatever. Like people see things, and then there's the ontology, and then there's the epistemology. There is whether there is something real, which I maintain absolutely. Why not? Of course, 100%. There's something real going on there. It is the interpretation. It is, first the limits of what we can know, and then how we interpret it. And how we interpret it, in my opinion, is not good in these instances because it's trying to apply a very rational scientific methodology to it, and I don't think you can do that. It's more of a hermeneutic where you can compare different texts, but in order to do that, you actually have to compare why those texts were written in the first place and get to those texts on their own terms and not try to put some kind of framework over it that you then use to your own, it ends up succumbing to your own biases. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the flooding was a huge threat, exactly, right? Honey says, right, wasn't the concept of global way more localized? Yes, exactly. Not to mention it's just like the biggest threat, so it feels like a small wonder that it's core to many mythological catastrophes. Absolutely. And yes, this is the gazebo guy. Welcome. Christopher Columbus convinced people God was angry because he knew when a solar eclipse was coming. Because God knew when a solar eclipse was coming? Is that what you mean, Jesse? My marriage is tumultuous. My marriage is tumultuous every time we discuss dragons because, literally, physically real or not, I think they're a common myth across space and cultures. Yes, also dragons are reptiles, and humans have not had a long. We've had a sordid relationship with snakes, and that also appears in myth. And there's plenty of reasons that might have happened, naturally.
Yeah, and I've had them move objects of mine.
Oh, yeah.
They're playful. They're little playful beings. I've had interactions with them as
We
well.
love our magic. I love a little magic. Everyone gets a
So
little
what are a
magic.
couple of your favorite teachings
Are we bored with
or
this?
things that you've learned through your
guys
contact
doing?
experiences? Maybe some beautiful lessons from Star Family. And then I
Thank
would
you, Dr.
like for you to
Elliot.
give the audience a few tips on self-mastery. What has helped you the most, especially in these times?
I do want to hear some self-mastery tips.
Well, I would say many years ago, one of the first things the Arcturians started teaching me was about how important it is to regulate our emotions and our mind. And it takes a very long time to do that because the mental body and the emotional body, they both overlap and like tug on each other, right? And so it's like you'll clear the chatter in your head, but then some thought from the past will creep in and you feel a certain way about it and it's trying to pull you which way or another or worry about the future,
Left turn.
and
About to take a left turn.
I didn't realize the importance of uh, clearing the mental chatter in your head, like, the information they gave me of minimizing the lower mind and healing the emotional body because you come to this center point, you come to this still point, and it's called a state of no mind, and then you can tap into the higher mind, and then that's where unity consciousness is. That's where all the higher beings are already residing, and they're like, we've been waiting for you the whole time, and so there's so much help, there's so much assistance if we meet them halfway. That's when they come in and assist us in a spontaneous healing.
I did not know that, Jesse. The locals didn't know what eclipses were, so he was able to convince them it was God's anger and then bilk them out of food and supplies in return. Yeah. Also my understanding, and I don't know if this was Columbus, but yeah, we introduced them to alcohol, got them addicted to alcohol, then jacked up the price of alcohol, decimated their economies, and then used their decimated economies as a justification for not allowing indigenous North American folks to hold like office and stuff. And so it's pretty bad, I think. But anything I hear about like that era is not like good. That's my incredible commentary.
Things happen. A lot of people are looking for them to say, but that's not how it works. Like it all comes down to it has to be this way or we wouldn't step into our power. Like
Post science too, Jesse.
we're here to take charge of our.
This has 10,000 views 22 hours ago. Should we go through some comments? See what we have here. I can keep playing it if you guys are interested in it.
Step into our power to really
No ego, right? He seems like a sweet guy.
do this inner work, and it
This
goes
is where I
back to the
become really
Vedas. Like,
convinced.
in all
Great guest, yeah, sweet guy, really helpful. Okay, let's sort by new. This is my first rodeo. This is my first trip to this awesome video. This is great. People have their own little Skinwalker Ranch as another portal. Again, weird stuff. Sure, absolutely. I don't feel like an ancient soul. I feel like a newbie. It's remarkable. It makes me feel bad for. No, it doesn't make me feel bad. Making fun of him. Yeah, it's pretty good. So you want to stay in this lane of wacky, guys, or should we go into a different lane of wacky? What do you mean? What is this? This is our defense secretary? Shaman 911? This is our defense secretary, okay? So I don't know what. Keep almost ripping my headphones out. Gets a worse secretary. Thank you. Good call. All right. So this is we've done the alien thing. Let me know if you want to go back. I'm happy to, it's Keg's breath. I'm happy to revisit more. Maybe we will. Who knows? But let's see what this is. This came out, I think, what is it, 3 days ago, 4 days ago? And it is, the title of it is The $1.5 trillion Investment is a Generational Down Payment on America's National Defense. Now, generational down payment is in all caps, as if to imply they really want you to, like, take that, like, bury that in your head. Like, this is what it is. He's the Secretary of Alcoholism. And he is an offensive secretary. And it will live in infamy. So the reason I find this somewhat fascinating is because I can't get this idea of, like, the memification of the United States out of my head, where it's just like there's an absurdity to the whole thing. Do you guys want a meat stick? There's an absurdity to, like, their branding that I think is going to need to be kind of studied. There's an unseriousness, I think, that, like, they know, they're self-aware of, I think, and they enjoy it. There's a kind of, I think, sadistic quality to it, and a trollish quality. Like, the administration trolls call all the time. Like, I mean, the old thing we just started with was Trump with a AI alien, it just fascinated me that they want to be taken seriously, yet they choose not to be. And I do think part of it is it's kind of like putting the medicine and honey or whatever, where, they're asking for $1.5 trillion for a military, and for the military, that even aides have said that they, in the White House and in the Pentagon, have no idea how they can spend that much money. They don't know how to spend the, like, $500 billion more in funding, which we're going to get to in just a moment, and what that money could be used for instead, according to some kind of smarty pants guy. And I think that's somewhat interesting, and maybe you'll find it of value. And if you don't, we're going to go back to talking about aliens and starseeds. All right, your kids wanting to sit, their kids wanting to sit at the adult table. And also, I say this every time, the dude's pocket square. The pocket squares originated with the Greeks and Egyptians, and it does imply that he blows his nose on the American flag. I'm not one to, like, clutch my pearls when it comes to that kind of thing. At the same time, I find it a little distasteful. I also find it incredibly distasteful if your entire brand is being a, like, patriot and a warrior, because it does mean that American flag is specifically waiting to have him blow his nose on it, and that is funny to me.
Despite what you might hear in the media, America is not in decline.
Okay, so right out of the gate, despite what you may be hearing in the media, America is not in decline. They're telling the truth because they're immediately starting with a defense. And no pun intended. Like, they're immediately, I know you've heard probably from everybody that things aren't going well. But, and it's like, well, even if you hadn't heard that, now they Yeah, it's propaganda 101, and it's not good propaganda, except in the sense that I do think their followers are genuinely like, because they don't care. They're not realizing that $1.5 trillion could go to, like, improve their lives and the lives of actual Americans.
Remain the strongest,
or excuse me, lives of people in America, not
military power on Earth. But that power requires renewal. And with global threats that are constantly evolving, it's time to...
Whoa! Y'all. Did you see those global threats? They're skyrocketing. They're everywhere. We need to give more money to the military. After World War II, there was a very easy transition to the fear of Hitler with the fear of Stalin. And that instigated the Cold War. We had to make sure we just had to deal with fascism, and now we had communism. So how do we keep both of these at bay? And that led to basically the idea of Cold War liberalism, and that a lot of Cold War liberals later became neoconservatives or neocons, because the general idea of Cold War liberalism was like, we're going to create a social safety net for people, like via the New Deal and FDR and all that stuff. And the reason we're going to do that is because we want to make sure the masses are satiated, because Cold War liberalism is partially defined by a fear of like the masses. Like you don't want the masses to rise up. So you need to keep them somewhat appeased. And hey, I'm all for that. I think it's great. Some of the best stuff ever. Great. You know, we had good tax codes, but there was a lot of investment in the public sphere and in the well-being of like citizens. However, as the Cold War progressed, it became very clear that when in doubt, the like liberal tendencies of Cold War liberalism could be kind of put on hold, and money could continue to be funneled toward the military. Because the idea was we have to invest in the military to protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe, but also we're going to put military bases all over the world so that if anybody does anything, they know we're right there. So now we have like something like 750 military bases just chickenpoxed all over the United States. And so as the social safety net has continued to be chipped away at, more and more money has gone to the military, and now potentially even more money, but they're having a hard time ever since the fall of the Berlin Wall finding a threat. And there was like some article that came out, I think in the 90s after the Berlin Wall, like what does an empire do without enemies? So we had this sort of big looming threat for so long, and now we have this huge military industrial complex. What do we do, you know? And so they were like, well, we're going to spread democracy everywhere. And then 9/11 happened, and they were like, okay, well, we have a big terrorist threat now. Now we have an enemy again that we can funnel more money to the military industrial complex for. And that is what they did. And then now, like, that stretched probably through the aughts, but then by the tens, most people were like, yeah, jihadists aren't probably going to be able to do anything or pose any real threat. So that posed a problem. And now we're here where it's like, there's just threats. There's threats, and you gotta give us more money.
Make a $1.5 trillion investment, a generational down payment. For far too long, Washington bureaucrats.
I do not have a doctorate in history. I have a doctorate in what's called depth psychology, but I looked at a lot of history for my dissertation, and I'm very interested in it. But I'm new. I'm a newbie.
Allowed America's defense industrial base to fall apart.
That part does.
During President Trump's first.
The part where Biden kind of like walks back and forth is pretty funny to me. I am not above mocking Biden.
Defense industrial base.
Look, he doesn't know where he's going. Oh, he's wearing a mask.
During President Trump's first term, our military was rebuilt into the greatest fighting force on the planet.
Yeah.
The execution of Operations Midnight Hammer, Southern Spear, Absolute Resolve, and Epic Fury are testaments to this restoration of strength. America's $1.5 trillion investment guarantees that the United States military will maintain this advantage against any adversary, anywhere, at any time.
Okay, so who's the threat? Anyone, anytime, anywhere.
Here's why. A historic $756 billion of the defense budget, more than half of it, will be allocated to investments in new capabilities. That means like factories, technology, and jobs. It also means spending
jobs. Yeah, that's military Keynesianism is what that's called. That was what helped a lot of what helped boost the economy post World War II. Is military or throughout World War II. No, after. Basically, it's the idea that military spending benefits the economy because it creates jobs. Now, why would you do something like a Green New Deal when you can be building bombs?
$100 billion to advance the next generation of American air power. We're advancing the largest shipbuilding request since 1962.
Break up that production.
Including $10 billion into our maritime industrial base. We're committing nearly $18 billion to operationalize Golden Dome for America.
Okay, so Golden Dome, I believe, is a very funny phrase because it sounds to me like they kind of painted themselves into a corner with what to call it. But I don't even know how you do that when we're talking about a dome. How do you build a corner in a... But you can't go with Gold Dome because that doesn't roll off the tongue. That's not good branding. You can't have those D's back to back. Gold Dome. It's harder to say. The problem is that golden means that The thinnest of domes. The golden means it's not really gold. It's like shiny. Also, apparently, I was reading some stuff. This stuff is like, even in theory, massively expensive and hasn't been shown to be like a good idea according to any kind of data. But we don't need to
defend the homeland. We're providing the largest investment in drone warfare and space capabilities ever. We're reshoring our critical mineral sector to reduce reliance on foreign nations. And we're increasing our investment in artificial intelligence by 800%.
I bet you are.
This is a generational down payment on our future.
AI. So there is a law professor, last name Hobart, I believe, and she wrote this thing on like the legal implications of AI with the justice system and legal department, and basically was like, this is entirely unconstitutional. Like when you look at like ICE and Palantir, I think, and then you look at, I want to say, what's his name, the scary one, the vampire one, Stephen Miller. He has like $250,000 invested in Palantir, and then Palantir just gets contract after contract from the U.S. government. But basically, because AI is private, and because it amplifies the biases of like its human creators, or it amplifies the biases that are found in, say, like law enforcement data sets, like all of the biases that go in there that unfairly target marginalized groups or minorities, that becomes amplified through AI. The problem is that when that happens without AI, there's like a discoverability thing where you can actually find out where it went wrong. But because AI is privately owned, they're not required to kind of give that up. So it creates a very, very big problem, because you're talking about like multiple amendments constantly getting violated as a result of using AI, because it's not. And yet some AI use will be inevitable. But when they're talking about using AI, my understanding is they're going to be using it for like, targeting people and deciding what to do. And that will create problems. And it already has. There was a story, I think last week, about a woman who sought out, like essentially hunted down a guy, a black man, murdered him. And she might get released from prison because it turns out that the prosecutor used AI to build her case, and AI then made up a bunch of cases, and that made its way into affecting the judge's decision. And then when they found that they'd done that, it basically is a mistrial. So like now this murderer is gonna go free because the prosecutor decided to use AI. That is not an indictment on the entire technology of AI. It's an indictment on its particular use in a particular capacity by the legal and justice system. So that's my TED Talk.
A down payment.
Generational down payment.
Deterrence. President Trump's budget is sending one unmistakable message to our allies, our enemies, and our defense.
Thank you for subscribing, Bex25. I appreciate it, and I heard a sound, so I didn't miss it. Again, I'm very new to this. Oh, I haven't taken my little screen down.
What are you talking about?
Anyway, we're having fun. I'm sorry. Do you guys want me to back it up? Because I'm so sorry you missed some of that.
Industrial base. We are expanding our strength. We are restoring deterrence, and we are putting America first.
Now, let's go through the comments in case you guys are feeling pretty good right now. Well, we better continue cracking down more on all fraud and abuse. Yeah, absolutely. These new infomercials remind me of Schoolhouse Rock. Really entertaining. It is, right? It's almost like that's the point. Anyway. What do we have next? So here, just for fun, is what $1.5 trillion could go to. Now, the obvious things like, oh, well, this would just mean we don't have a military. But what you'll find is that they were actually not able to spend that much money. So this is a guy, it's called Polygraph. His name's Steven Semler, and it's on Substack. But he went through and was just like, for funsies, to imagine, because you hear 1.5 trillion. I think the fact that billion, trillion, and million all rhyme leads us to more problems than we can possibly imagine, because in your head, phonetically, it sounds the same. And so your mind is like, oh, it's just like another zero or whatever. And you don't realize how massive an amount of money it is. So it's $93 billion. Could end world hunger. That would be on an annual basis. 318, end global extreme poverty. 29 billion, end U.S. homelessness. 214 billion Medicaid for the uninsured. That'd be cool. 35 billion for universal pre-K. Can't have that. 141 billion. Send 600 checks. $600 checks, 235 million Americans. How about that? Everyone gets a little bit of money in your pocket. And $600 billion to power half of all U.S. households with solar. And he goes through and shows like the methodology of everything and how he did the calculations. So it's sort of like history repeating itself, right? You know, like, we have to keep chipping away at the social safety net. And the reason for that is because there's this neoliberal idea that really took off in the late 70s. It was cooking before, but it really hit around like 80 with Thatcher and then Reagan. And the idea is that the free market is a holy, sacred thing that cannot be messed with. And if you do, it is a slippery slope to socialism and then communism and then ultimately tyranny, which is why you cannot have universal pre-K, nor can we put regulations on the market, for to do so is antithetical to the brilliance of our absolutely flawless, late modern, neoliberal capitalist system. Yeah, exactly. That sounds a little too reasonable. It is like a fantasy, and I know it is a fantasy. Like the end, it's a fantasy not just because of where we're at, but sure, you need like, I guess, a military, but you also need like some of this stuff would be cool. And maybe it helps people a little bit. It helped me. I just found it very interesting. And you still have $70 billion left over because he wasn't able to spend it. Just like the people in the Pentagon, like, I don't know how we're going to spend all this money. So it's almost like they're trying to enrich their friends, which, I mean, I don't want to say that, but it seems a little like that. Yeah, exactly. It's a free market. And you get democracy at the voting booth, but you don't get democracy in the workplace. Yeah, that's a good one. That's one of my favorite ones. Vanita Ventures, excuse me. Vanitas Ventures. Just so people know the difference, 1 million seconds is about 11 days. 1 billion seconds is 31 years. That's a really good one. The one I like is something like, if you make $10,000 a day since the birth of Jesus Christ and never spend a single cent of it, you still won't have as much money as Elon Musk. But again, the idea that people counter with that is, oh, so you just want to take other people's money who have earned that money and just give it to people who haven't worked for it. And I disagree with that. I don't think it's about giving money to people who haven't worked for it. I think it's about taking back what has been taken from them, because we have $80 trillion that's gone out of the middle class over the past 50 years, and I think that's bad. And like, what, 3 people own more than the bottom half of the rest of the United States. And also, when you have that much money, it causes a concentration of like power, not just money. So it's not about like, ooh, I want that money or to be like them and not do any work for it. It's a fundamentally anti-democratic when you have that much money in that tiny, controlling or controlled by that few people. And that is like what the deal is. So it doesn't matter, even if you were to take that money and like burn it, metaphorically, then it would still like be better, because it would still be a more even distribution of power. As it stands, when you have that kind of thing, someone could, I don't know, give $250 million to help their favorite candidate get elected, which is like maybe not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. But when you look at locally, if you have like a community and you're in your community and all of a sudden people know you and you can't like get like you can't get going because someone comes in and dumps your opponent with a bucket of cash. You're going to lose because you're going to get outspent. So therefore, it's not democratic because the will of the community is being superseded by the will of a corporation or a super PAC or whatever. Let's go back to aliens. Now I'm all fired up. Now I'm angry. I need to get centered.
Now, the one for Mom. Hello? Now!
I'm right here, Tucker. Stop your screaming.
All right, so I set it up, and
It's a t-shirt.
put on a tie. It's
This
for
is
Mom.
fine.
It's for Mother's Day.
Whatever.
Put on a tie.
Fine. I'm back.
Okay. All right. Okay, are you in close enough? Because you have to be...
Joe will copyright strike me. You're right. Yeah, let's just zone out for a second, guys. Again,
Okay,
it gets me every time.
come in closer. You're not in the frame.
You're not in the frame.
I swear to God, you're like halfway out of the picture right now.
F, Tucker. Why do you want me so close to you anyways?
I want you in the picture so Mom can see you. In the picture.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Tucker wants me humping his shoulder.
Right, I'm setting it for 3 seconds.
This video is 20 years old. 20. It does still hit.
Okay, we're taking it again. Try to smile this time, okay?
I smiled last time.
No, I just looked at it. You look like a freaking gopher.
It really did age
A
well.
gopher?
Apparently the views on it still spike
Okay,
every
you ready? Here it comes.
every Mother's Day. Luke's face
What?
just cracks me up.
I set it for 10 seconds. I wanted to make sure you
And
were
Joe's.
smiling. So.
Come out of the bathroom. Put down the yardstick.
I'm taking. Hey, knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
I've heard this one.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupt.
Moo.
You interrupt.
Moo. Okay. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting sloth.
Interrupting sloth. Who? You're gonna touch me now. That's good. That's a good
Knock
one.
knock.
That's a good one. Who's there?
Interrupting completely uncalled for.
Interrupting completely.
That was awesome.
We used to be a country. How's everybody doing? How you feeling? That good? You having fun? Should we? I was talking earlier about this a little bit. On Show Stream is gonna watch this study. Yeah, that will probably get flagged. I would love to play his bare naked ladies thing, but yeah, we can't do that. Also, I was hoping to look at trailers, but again, you guys are right. I did this the first time. I Googled it. It's not exactly know anything to do. It's a bad idea, especially when you're getting started. Please like and subscribe. Welcome everyone to the Dr. Elliot Morgan broadcast stream show, and thank you for being here and clicking like and clicking that bell. It really helps me helps me a lot. I like Kyle Kalinske, but there's this funny thing he does at the end of videos where like he'll say this really passionate stuff, and then at the very end he's like, please like and subscribe. And just the contrast is very funny. But anyway, on that note, please like and subscribe on Twitch. Yeah. So we are going to. You want to check back in with them? We can check back in with them. But I am going to go pee for a quick second. And then also, maybe if you guys are down, there's 2 videos. I do want to revisit this Destiny interview with Nick Mullen. I think it's one of the most unintentionally funniest things I've ever seen. But I'm not trying to upset any fans of anybody. Okay? So talk amongst yourselves. Let me pee. And then there's another video where it's Professor Dave Explains. Not sure if we'll do that. Either way, we will come back and revisit the leprechauns. And if you guys have any other things you'd like to go with, great. Otherwise, let me know. So, and I'm not gonna be long, and I'm gonna come back so soon, and you guys are gonna be like, oh wow, that is such an entertaining thing. This is still streaming, right? That's cool. It doesn't look like it is. Did it all of a sudden stop? No, it's doing great. All right, I'll be right back. Watch this. BRB. I was just literally just being. Thank you so much. Okay, let's read some of what you're saying. Isn't that like magical? The announced P breaks. That's nice, right? Like you know, I feel like that's what you're supposed to do. It's also something I do just in general. Must be all the AI data centers. The AI data center thing, I'm really perturbed by because like I'm not a fan, and everything I hear about them is horrible. And then there's like Taylor Lorenz, who's like a tech reporter. I don't know if you guys are like familiar with Taylor Lorenz, and she's a I don't know much about her. I just know that I've heard her name a lot, but she's been on this like kind of pro data center kick for a while, and I've seen things where it's like it's all made up. They're actually like really they don't use any water at all, and they use the same as this, and it's not that bad in comparison. But it's like the towns are like their water pressure is gone, or it's like turning to crap, and they're trying to get out of like paying it, so they're putting the burden on the. It just all sounds bad. So I don't, and also just aesthetically, I think aesthetically, I think that they are not good. So, Dark Winter, yeah. How's everyone doing? Do you guys want to do like a Q&A? Throw in a question, any question, I will ask it, and then we can dive into maybe a little bit more Starseed stuff. The political stuff is fun, but after a while, I go like, you know what I mean? Weather's good here. You guys good? Nice. Yeah, Taylor Lorenz is, I think, very controversial. That's what I'm gathering. I can't get a read on her. Like, every now and then I'll read something of hers or see something that she says, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. But then other things, I'm like, I don't know what her story is. I think I've heard mixed things, that she maybe did some. I don't remember what it was. Maybe she got fired or something. I really don't know. And to be honest, don't have much of a strong opinion beyond just not understanding like where someone is actually like coming from. So that's kind of where I get most confused. I feel like most of the time I can be like, oh, I understand. Okay, like this is your shtick. But like I think she was talking about. I'm fascinated by what she has to say because I think it's interesting when people say things that I'm like, I'm not familiar with that perspective. But a lot of the online stuff, not wanting kids to have to do like ID stuff, is a potential infringement, and you know, taking us further and further toward a surveillance state. It's a hard argument to make and have land, because the impetus behind that is this sort of idea of child protection, which is a very hard rhetorical like obstacle to get over, when that's like what the opposing side has in any capacity, when they're like, we're protecting the children. That's a home run more often than not for political stances. So I am enjoying myself. I do enjoy doing this. I'm getting there, folks. I'm getting there. Okay, thank you. But no, seriously, thank you. It is fun. Also, I don't know if you guys have an issue with this stuff. I will put this company out of business. You can't imagine the amount of Diet Dr. Pepper cans and bottles I have around here. It's not good. But there's something about it that, like, I used to be a Diet Coke guy, and then this lady came along, and hello. Twilight movie series review. Yeah, I was talking about this a little bit, but we were supposed to do the most recent reaction yesterday. We didn't feel like it. We're gonna do it on Wednesday, and we are going to dress up, and I'm very excited about it because I'm gonna look like an absolute smoke show. But I am incapable of actually paying attention to those movies. I try. Like, I got not in trouble. That sounds very demeaning, but I definitely got some notes on how I just sort of sit there like, oh god. I really do. I I just couldn't do it. Like the next time I was like, all right, I'm paying attention. And I think I just I don't care, but it is cool to see like something from back in the day. I remember it reminds me of being a young millennial, and the fact that I can say that now is not good, and it reminds me of my own mortality. So I did do self-analysis. I did do self-analysis. No, that I think is not totally smiled upon these days, but I did do analysis more or less as part of like a sort of separate class where you have to kind of show and then talk about your experiences with analysis. But I'm actually not like I've walked away from my education, ironically, maybe a little bit more skeptical toward therapy in general, but I hesitate to say that because I think therapy does a lot of good. I just think that like depth psychology covers a lot of things, and it also I think isn't strictly related to A, you as an individual, or B, what happens in like the office or whatever, the client's room. That's my isn't it, Jesse? It's totally the best. But yeah, I'm a big fan. EMDR, I only did talk therapy. I've only ever done talk therapy. EMDR is an interesting one. That was like one of the things you could try. And I was actually talking about this with the guy, my guy who cuts my hair. His wife does EMDR, and I've heard good things, and I also like when there's a little bit of controversy around. I think with EMDR, it's like I would be fascinated to try it. I'm very do whatever. Like I think that there's no wrong answer when it comes to seeking some kind of like help in that regard. I just think don't stay on it too long if it's not working. Or unless it's like proper psychoanalysis, and then you have to stay in it for a while, because old school psychoanalysis is just a slow chipping away. And traditional psychoanalysis was about like essentially making it so you were less burdened by your like the sort of unconscious urges or drives in like a Freudian sense. But then after World War II, psychologists played a very big role in the idea of self-development. And the idea of self-development is still with us today in a lot of therapeutic circles, where the whole aim is to like go to therapy and then transform into this, pinnacle of like who you're supposed to be or something. But much of it after World War II was specifically all about making people productive workers. And it was developed by folks like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the general idea was like, if you wanted to stop people from slipping into fascism or having another Nazi Germany on your hands, then you need to have a certain level of like egoic strength. Otherwise, you'll be susceptible to these kinds of mass movements. But that also eventually, I think, led to this very narrow way of looking at therapy. Like, I don't personally think the one goal of therapy should be to make yourself a more productive worker. And in their mind, like, in fairness, their version of productive is not just like being a cog in a machine. It's like doing work that you find satisfying. And if you can do that, and then you have all of your basic needs met, hence the Maslow stuff, then you will not fall prey to fascism or get swept up in some political mass movement or revolution. So it's like therapy can sometimes, I think, mute certain things that shouldn't be muted, and it can turn the volume up on things that shouldn't have the volume turned up on. Like sometimes you just need to get out of whatever the thing is and not white knuckle it, and vice versa. Sometimes you need to white knuckle things and not bounce around. So it requires like a really good, like I'm very fortunate to have had a very good therapist that I don't see anymore, but I used to. And if you would like to hear him talk, you can Google Pete Holmes, who was my therapist. Pete Holmes and Dr. Gary Penn. Book available now. He did an interview with him, and he's a great guy, and talks about dating. And he was a very funny therapist because he was not one to suffer my foolery. And that's good. Sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you want a little, someone's going to like, tell you what a good sweet boy you are. And then other times you want someone who's like, hey, get over it. One time he was talking to me about, what was it? I was upset with Grace over something. You guys want a little meat stick? And I was complaining, and he just goes, how old do you feel right now? And I was like, oh, I don't know, 14 or... He was like, you sound like you're about 11 years old. And I was like, oh, yeah. When he's right, he's right. And now I think that quite often. When I find myself getting upset over something stupid, I'll be like, how old do I feel? And it's usually not very old. It's usually like a little baby. Therapy. Out the bullshit. Yeah. Oh, cut the bullshit. Maybe it is time for me to actually go see the eye doctor. Maybe this stream is finally going to be what makes me do it. You know? You know what I mean? Is this annoying? Yeah, I love you, Holmes. Excuse me, I'm having a meat stick. I'm having a little bit of a treat. I love Pete Holmes, but I went through a real big Pete Holmes phase post my divorce. And that was where I found my therapist. And I emailed him. I was like, oh, wow, cool. And I was with him for like, I don't know, 6 years or something. He's a wonderful person if you're in LA. Just go visit him. I've only ever found sycophantic therapists who seem to only want to extend my number of visits. It's annoying. Yeah, especially too, like, I think the entire system is kind of screwed up with, a lot of therapists will do like the insurance thing, but they do the insurance thing as they're trying to build a clientele so they don't have to take insurance anymore. And so a lot of folks who are in the insurance, almost said racket, but it's not a racket. You get a good therapist that way. But there's a high turnover rate, and so it precludes a lot of people economically from being able to like get the kind of, I think, therapy they need. But what do I know? I'm a meat steak guy. These things are so expensive. I'm not bragging. I get these like maybe once a month. Grace went to the grocery store the other day, and I was like, would you mind getting me some of them meat sticks? You get like 10 for $20 or something. Yeah, the matchmaking process. And that, I think, is the work. Like, it is a matchmaking thing. I've been very fortunate. And also, it's a matchmaking with the kind of therapy. Like, I like just regular talk therapy. Other folks, the EMDR, great, go for it. More like traditional psychoanalysis, great. Sometimes that gets a little annoying for me. Like, I've had instances where it's been like, a lot of this stuff with therapy is you end up sublimating the wrong things. So sublimation is like essentially the filtering or the transformation of some kind of like drive or complex that's unconscious into something that's healthy, ostensibly. But like if you're going to therapy and you hit like 4 potholes and somebody cuts you off and you get stuck in rush hour traffic, and then you're like screaming at somebody and you walk in and you're all pissed off and you're 20 minutes late, there's a good chance you're going to end up spending the next rest of the hour talking about how that anger reminded you of when you were in 2nd grade. And that's all well and good. Or, it reminded you of your mom when she would tuck you in whatever. Or you're someone you got yelled at. You end up kind of like going into your past and trying to like unearth all of these sort of deep-seated motivations when you could just go to like a town meeting and figure out why they can't fill a pothole. Like I think the risk with therapy sometimes is it causes you to go inward when you should take a more active role in your world. If that makes any sense, which sounds revolutionary the way I'm saying it, but it just means like, it's not, don't just go in and be like, well, actually this is, because then the potholes are never going to get filled. It can make you an apolitical person. And as Aristotle said, man is by nature a political animal. How about that? I'm trying to make a point not to like do the quote thing. I feel like that's a very that's what you do when you're trying really hard to sound smart. But it's like the poet W.H. Auden said, you know? We are lived by powers we pretend to understand. Mm-hmm. All right. They're so good. That actually made me feel a lot better. 12 for 20 at your Costco? Oh, nice, man. Humble brag. All right. I want to go more to. Oh, I found the way that the guy looks. Okay. Oh, this is brand new. 4,000 views. All right. This is the guy we were listening to earlier that we all thought was Steve doing a bit.
I gotta come on here and vent real quick. My wife got a new car through her work. It's a brand new, it's got no miles on it. Brand new 2025 or 2026, I imagine. Subaru Outback. And it's got the feature where it says, or it's the eyesight thing. So it's got a camera on the dash.
Yeah.
If you veer off for 2 seconds, like if you look away like this,
put your eyes back on.
Or if you're looking outside, I got mountains around us, right? Yeah. So I'm looking at the mountains. It'll flash and beep and say, keep eyes on road.
Yeah.
Change my music on Spotify for 2 seconds and it's flashing saying, keep eyes on road. Mm-hmm. I get the idea of it, but this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Now imagine there was an emergency outside the truck, an accident, something terrible on the ranch with a chainsaw. And I jump in this truck, but the truck, it won't shift into drive. Why? Because the cameras and sensors inside this cab won't let it shift because it detects my eyes are big, there's a lot of emotion, there's some panic, and it doesn't feel that I'm fit to drive. Now that's not science fiction, that is happening because Ford just filed the patents.
And this just goes to show that if people sit back and do nothing, these companies will continue to make these moves, and before you know it, you won't even be able to get into a vehicle without it tracking you, spying on you, and watching all your biometrics. So this is Ford with patents on the books to do all this, and you've got Subaru following suit. A bunch of the big places are doing this because Biden put on the books that by 2027, all brand new vehicles had to incorporate this. So instead of them fighting back or standing up for privacy or rights, they're succumbing to the beast. And it's a trap. You won't see me in any of these newer vehicles whatsoever, ever. Let me know in the comments section what you guys think about this. And join me for the live streams Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern here on Dabu77.
There's a video I watched 6 months ago. Play that. Just kidding, can't play that. A voice changer? What are you talking about? If I can use a voice changer, like that guy, is that guy using a voice changer? Also, I definitely have, like, we drive a Subaru and I have the thing all the time. He's not lying. And it does get kind of annoying when it's like, eyes on the road, eyes on the road. But I have a hard time getting angry at that aspect of it when my eyes are not on the road. Like, I can't really complain about that. So, yeah. Mute math sessions. Okay, good to know. Got into like a real White Stripes Jack White phase a couple months ago. So that was the algorithm. And it'd be nice if you could listen to music on this, but you can't. So also the whole like AI, like watching surveillance thing, it's already doing that. You know? We're a little late.
All my teachings, the ones that resonate the most are like the Vedic teachings and Advaita Vedanta.
Dark
really
attacks and
in a
initiations.
very grounded way, not somewhere that's like far away or like hard to understand and gets you like super ungrounded. You do a good job, so I'll say that.
Well, thank you so much. It's taken a lot of work and years to be who I am today. And I think it's just a normal part of the process, like people have a spontaneous Kundalini awakening or out of body experience or near death experience, which I've had all the above, and you can kind of get ungrounded for a while, and like through those
Nice. I love
through those
what. Yeah.
experiences, you come back to grounding, you come back to being simultaneously in all the different dimensions, multidimensional, and grounded in this third dimension. And then this brings up another what I was going to get into earlier about initiations. So yeah, the spiritual community has been infiltrated, and at a certain point, I started to have attacks on the dark side. And this is many years ago. It's back in like 2016, and things got really intense with different beings showing up, and Draco beings, and the reptilian ships above me, and crazy stuff going on. That at my vision
Again, what if they're right?
became activated, and I was able to see through the dimensions, and I would see black orbs following people. I would see them flying around a person and go inside a person, and they would start to act all crazy. And I would see this happen like clockwork. And so as soon as they knew that I could see them, they started to attack me. Like I would literally see a dark orb fly by, and I'd like have to move out of the way, and I would feel my energy drain. I'd feel all these foreign thoughts come in. It was starting to take a physical toll on my health.
Like, what's the Harry Potter? Dementors?
And I literally had to
Dementorbs?
it got crazy for a very long time. And one of the things that helped me was working with the plants and the star people coming in as well. And so it was like a full-on battle, light and dark battle for months. I remember waking up one night in the middle of the night, and I saw like just at like 3 in the morning, just woke up and I saw this dark thing move across my ceiling. This has been going on for months at this point, and I was like physically drained, and I was just like, oh my God, like, I'm not doing this. I call on protection, and these 2 luminous orbs come through my wall like the size of grapefruits, like producing their own light source, and one shoots at this thing and swooshes it away, and the other one just starts doing like circles above my bed patrolling, and like all this bliss feeling was coming off it, and I was like, thank you so much. I gotta go work in a couple hours. Like this is crazy, And so like it was just nonstop for a very long time. But working with the plants and actually realizing what's happening out there,
The dead hummingbirds is so funny. Oh man. Yeah. The idea of having 2 dead hummingbirds on your ears. I mean, I think they're nice looking, but yeah, it is. They do look like two dead hummingbirds.
In hindsight, I realized these were initiations, right? And it does come, and I've learned a lot through them, and I also learned to protect myself, and I also learned my own power. Like we can clear this stuff out. We can be aware enough not to even let it in the first place. And now like I've faced the darkest stuff there is. I've faced the fallen Elohim and some really, really intense initiations that almost killed me. I faced it head on, and so I'm not scared anymore because it literally just feeds off here.
After World War II, throughout there was a guy named Carl Schmitt, and he later became a Nazi, and he had this idea on how you do war. And the idea was that there are friends and there are enemies, and that's about it. And so there's the good guys and there's the bad guys. In fact, the terms good guys and bad guys only started taking off after World War II, because throughout World War II, during World War II, Carl Schmitt's sort of philosophy on war became really popular, even by some of the more progressive folks in the United States, because they figured, rightfully so, I would say, that Hitler posed such a unique existential threat that was that it was okay, to essentially go to war and have this very like binary black and white thing, like we're good, they bad. And then that's why it was so easy after World War II to switch over to Stalin, in addition to the fact that Stalin was Stalining everywhere. But the whole good guys, bad guys thing is, I think, like, we're good and pure and great, and then we're under threat by dark forces. And it's literally like what he's saying here. Like, there's dark forces that are coming to steal his soul, so he has to strengthen himself and fight the good fight, lest he be drained of his resources. So I don't know. I think that's interesting.
But I do not consent. This is against universal law. I do not consent. It was like threatening everything, and it's a long story, but the initiations do come. If you're over the target, the attacks do come. But we realize our own power and realize that there's nothing to be afraid of.
It's very militaristic.
And during that time, black helicopters started following me. black orbs were
Testing.
showing up. Like, it was not only the Black Ops military actually showing up in the sky in armed drones and all kinds of crazy stuff, but actual spiritual attacks and black orbs flying around. And I remember this one time I was out in the hills hiking, doing a prayer ceremony, like miles away from anybody. And I look up and there's an armed drone above me. And it was like the kind you'd see in Afghanistan. And they were threatening me, just like, take your videos down or there's consequences. And I did. I went off the map for a long time until I finally was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm scared, and put my stuff back up. And I've done that a couple times over the years when things got really intense. I remember.
Do you think if you like lose energy throughout the day, that might be a result of not having slept well, or like dark orbs that we don't see? Is this sort of like once you're in, like he said, you go through the initiations, then you can kind of like see these things, but otherwise they're just affecting you without you knowing?
I remember another time I was out in the middle of nowhere, and
the alternative is that they only seem to mess with people that know they exist. So, I mean, it seemed like logically you could just not know they exist.
These two all black, no numbers jets were like under radar through the hills and lined up directly with me, like swooped me. There's a whole number of stuff that happened, and so what I'm getting at is parts of our military, parts of all the governments that are controlling the world are tied in with the Dark Ones, and it goes all the way back to the fallen Elohim who are calling the shots on everything. And I've been taken to meetings as a witness there by the Light Council Elohim, the Elohai Elohim, and seeing negotiations happen. I've been taken to meetings for a very long time on numerous occasions to actually see what's going on. And so that has been a thing. Then,
what would one of these meetings look like?
Yeah.
Or like what sort of, is there anything memorable you could share from one of these meetings?
Mm-hmm. Not classified.
Yeah. So it started as an observer, basically, and I saw what they were doing on Earth, how they're manipulating humanity, how they're feeding off the darkness of people, they're feeding off the suffering of people. And, there's the light groups and the Galactic Federation, which is also tied into the Elohai Elohim Council. And there are different groups of it that make up the True Federation and the Alliance.
I know, the Dark Ones it's all coded.
As well. And there's negotiations happening for the future of humanity. And so far, none of the negotiations have worked out very well. Like they're not budging on anything, and they're playing hardball. Okay, and then as things progress, and this has also been an experience that has been happening for quite some time. I'll get pulled out of body, and I'll be on a ship, and I will be in an all blue one-piece suit on a Pleiadian ship, and I'll actually be controlling it and manning it and going on missions. And I've been to negotiations like as a Pleiadian facet of myself too. And this is ongoing. This is happening all the time. Okay, and so this is part of the Alliance, and currently I'm part of the Pleiadian collective of the Alliance, and so there's been mostly negotiations, and most of them have not. We haven't really got that far. Like they're trying to control humanity, they're playing hardball, and yeah, it's been.
I was told, I guess this would have been a little over a year ago, I was getting some information about these negotiations. I think some of the public figures I see, I feel like some of them have either been replaced or they've been kind of forced to change their tone. And in some aspects that has worked. But the message I received was they're going out kicking and screaming.
Yeah, yep. Exactly. They're going down with the ship, basically, And so, so there's the Alliance, right? And
What are you talking about? It's so painful. It's so painful to listen to this idiocy.
It's like, at least in my experience, these are higher versions of myself that are having an active role in the future of humanity. And it's also tied in with positive aspects of our military and other militaries around the world. Okay, so it's not all dark. And then, so this is one thing that's happening. And then, kind of on a different tangent, but a similar subject, the FSP stuff. So I used to think that I was not part of that. That was not my experience until I started to have memories come back. And I was in the GATE program as a child, gifted and talented education for children. And so what this is it's a program that marks Starseed, and it marks advanced beings that come in who have abilities and psychic abilities and couldn't see. And, they can take you and put you back at the same time, and you never know, wipe your memory.
You guys hear that one? There's a really good book, fiction, Stephen King, relatively new, but it's about this, where it's children being basically trained for like psychic abilities.
And that worked on me. And so I started to have bleed through memories and lots of trauma and lots of stuff that
Yeah, trauma is going to be heavily intertwined with a lot of this.
I haven't shared publicly. And then I asked my Star family about it, and they were like, "Yep, you were in the programs." And so it's been a process to uncover those memories. And then I'm seeing the patterns in my life. I'm like, "Oh, that's why that pattern is played out in my life. It's trauma from that, you know?"
This video is my Twilight, yeah. In one ear and out of the other. Yeah, you know, causation, correlation, or whatever, but I just got really sad watching this now. Because like it's like the trauma part. I can have, you know, I can take some walks down the imagination and be like, oh yeah, you probably like yeah, having to go somewhere mentally. And the imagination is very powerful. That becomes a coping mechanism. That coping mechanism becomes over, you know, as you grow up, literalized. And yeah, it's like a self-object, if we want to use object relations. Yeah, that one got a little painful, y'all. Sorry about that. Let's just hang out for a little bit, and then I'm gonna go eat because I can feel myself dwindling. But I mean, this is probably the best stream you guys have ever seen, right? Probably. It is like X-Men, yeah. Except the difference is that X-Men isn't totally real. Actually, maybe, you know, there is some, you know, there's some stuff. Why not? I think the problem is the packaging. Like, I think people have strange experiences. I can't reiterate that enough. And they have weird things happen to them. I just, I don't know, maybe it's the aesthetic and the vibe. It just seems a little tough to, and again, they're doing no harm. I don't want to make fun of people just to make fun of people, you know? They're doing great things. I think that these kinds of fantasies and conspiracy theories tend to carry with them strands of kind of like historical stuff that we keep coming back to, that helps them orient what they perceive as a threatening and chaotic world. And who doesn't need that sometimes? The problem is when you have like decade after decade and a century after century of just really believing that you're under threat by like unknown forces all the time. That's a stressful way to live, man. So like, of course you're going to end up being like, okay, here's the answer. Here's what I got to do. At least, I mean, I hope it gives them a sense of meaning, I'm sure. So that's nice. Yeah, if this was edited like the Pete Hegseth thing, I almost said Pete Holmes. You guys like this guy? Oh, you can see him. Should we watch that one more time? Should we do a Q&A? We're going to do this one more time just because I like it.
Despite what you might hear in the media,
if you're just joining us, this is Pete Hegseth.
Decline. We remain the
not
strongest
a PBS
military
host.
power on Earth, but that power requires renewal. And with global threats that are constantly evolving, it's time to
this part cracks me up every time. Okay, we'll cap it with Joe. Great, yeah, that's a great thought.
Make a $1.5 trillion investment, a generational down payment. For far too long, Washington bureaucrats allowed America's defense industrial base to fall apart. During President Trump's first term, our military was rebuilt into the greatest fighting force on the planet. The execution of Operations Midnight Hammer, Southern Spear, Absolute Resolve, and Epic Fury are testaments to this restoration of strength. America's $1.5 trillion investment guarantees that the United States military will maintain this advantage against any adversary, anywhere, at any time.
I'm finding a
Here's
Joe
why.
video.
A historic $756 billion of the defense budget, more than half of it, will be allocated to investments in new capabilities. That means factories, technology, and jobs. It also means spending $100 billion to advance the next generation of American air power. We're advancing the largest shipbuilding request since 1962, including $10 billion into our maritime industrial base. We're committing nearly $18 billion to operationalize Golden Dome for America to defend the homeland.
Against
We're providing
what,
the largest
Pete?
investment in drone warfare and space capabilities ever. We're reshoring our critical mineral sector to reduce reliance on foreign nations. And we're increasing our investment in artificial intelligence by 800%. This is a generational down payment on our future, a down payment on deterrence. President Trump's budget is sending one unmistakable message to our allies, our enemies, and our defense industrial base. We are expanding our strength. We are restoring deterrence, and we are putting America first.
You gotta hand it to the guy. Like, he loves his suits, man. Here we go. "12 years ago. 12 years ago, Rhett and Link's YouTube challenge with Barats and Beretta. This has 212,000 views. I think I was a part of this with SourceFed when we did like a big shoot at the YouTube space. I could be wrong. I believe I was there. I don't recall what they asked us to do. Same music as the last video. Excellent. Generational comedy. We're making a generational down payment in comedy. Oh, this is that day. Oh, right. There were like 40 people. Like, they're in the back row. I think I'm somewhere away from them being like, I don't know Luke. I hope he thinks I'm funny, because Luke Baratz is so funny, I gotta tell you guys. And Joe Beretta's in this too. Is this maybe not the best one? Is this one maybe not? Hey, that's me. Yeah. They just cut me out of the shot. You guys see me? No, they didn't fly that helicopter. They yeah, Elliot Planking. Welcome back to 20 minutes or less. Yeah, what they did was, after they shut down the YouTube space, they demolished the building, and then Mr. Beast took the helicopter, and no one's seen him since. A long time ago, guys. Don't you dare tell Joe I've been watching this. You can tell Luke, though. He's funny. Was that incredible, or was that incredible? Maybe tomorrow we'll watch the first SourceFed video. But that is a tease for when we go live tomorrow at 10 a.m. PST. Thank you. Yeah, no, I think Luke and I definitely could do that. And I hope he's well. I hope Joe's well too. I hope all of them and everyone is well from that era. And yeah, Joe is definitely a father. Is Luke a father? Lots of people are parents these days, and I think it's beautiful. I'm a huge fan of that. Speaking of my first son, I'm gonna go walk But yeah, tomorrow will be a longer stream, and it's going to be so much more captivating. Any notes, any thoughts, any questions, concerns? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Subscribe, follow, hit the bell notification, and because I need your help. Joe is the best, and I love him so much, and that's why I don't mind making fun of him quite a bit. Oh yeah, you like that theme song? What about I have the oh, I thought I had the source fed like sound effect here, but I guess I don't. Wonder where that went. Yeah, the exam will be tomorrow, everybody. Please make sure you take notes. Figure out what side you're on with when it comes to like the negotiations going on between us and the Galactic Federation. Are you on the side of purity and light and whiteness, or are you on the side of darkness and non-whiteness and threats? And are you a dark orb or a light orb? And then make sure you funnel your view of reality in a way that is completely defined by good guys and bad guys. Make sure you remove any nuance from whether it's politics or aliens or whatever. And remember, if it's AI, maybe that actually is code for the coming disclosure. I hope it is. I would love for that to be the case. If it turns out that I am wrong about starseeds or aliens or disclosure, I'll be so unbelievably excited. Sasquatch obviously is real. Fairies obviously. Again, I think there's something going on behind all those things. Just don't think we should take things so literally all of the time. So remember, that will be a quiz later. Is, ontology, epistemology. This is how you make a streaming empire, folks. Ontology, epistemology. We're going to talk hermeneutics, all right? What is that? Interpretation. Used to mean religious texts. Now it's just texts in general, but even beyond that, you can interpret everything. You're interpreting me right now. I'm interpreting you. Okay, so it's a hermeneutic. Etymologically related to the Greek god Hermes, who was, of course, a trickster, meaning within any act of interpretation, there's always going to be some slippage. And with that, when you are considering the phenomenon itself, you must also consider that your interpretation of it will not be whole. It will not be complete. And so if you have a complete view, it is very likely that the dark forces are lying to you. You know what I mean? Oh, I love all the like local we'll get into it tomorrow, but yeah. Wendays. Yeah, I mean there's like a skunk man, I think, in Florida. And look, I don't know how much time you guys have spent alone in the woods, but there's, I haven't spent a ton of time, but there's some stuff going on in there. World Cup less than a month away. Oh yeah, all I can think about. No. Maybe this year I'll try to get into it though. I'm not a football person. I enjoy some of the NFL, and I like some college football. Go Gators! And I like a little bit of basketball during March Madness. And that's about it. But I would love to get more involved. I'll tell you that. Best case scenario that we're all messed up. These people we've watched are correct. Yeah. The best case scenario is that they're correct, because it's a pretty simple way of like viewing reality. So I would personally love, and also like, what do we have to worry about if they're right? It's out of our control. Why get involved in politics, or why get involved in your local community when every string is being pulled by like the plumedians or whatever? Fairies never see back event. Yeah, I think on Kasim, I think Grace saw Kasim doing something a few weeks ago. Like, oh, cool. There's been like a slight, I would say, there's like something in the air, I think, where people are reconnecting. to certain degrees, and I, especially like from the old kind of YouTube days, and it's been really fun to kind of look back, I think, positively and be like, oh man, it's crazy. Like there is such a mutual like friendship even with people who I don't really know anymore, just because there's so many fond memories associated with that time. And so I think that's a nice thing personally. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna get out of here, you guys. We're going all the way tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., a 12-hour stream, no pee breaks, no food breaks, no meat stick breaks. At least not literally. I love all of you. Thank you for being here. Let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe. Give me notes privately and nicely, because I'll take them. All right. Bye, everybody.